Hey everybody, this is Modern Refugee, having some coffee with you guys here today. I have been cleared to go back to work light duty because of my surgery, and thankful for that I can get back and make a little money. December is always a rough month. It's a bad month to be off of work, especially when both members of the family are off work like we have been here. Did that live stream on Prepper Now's channel here a couple days back. I'll put a link in the description if you guys haven't seen that. It was a good discussion with like-minded people in the community that have their own channels and their own points of view on things. And wanted to discuss a couple little things here this morning. One sort of geopolitical, what's going on around the world, and then one is good old-fashioned neighborly values. I'm yet to make a determination how this whole thing in Syria is going to pan out and how it's going to affect us here in the States. Back as early as like 2014, I remember reading reports where they wanted to put a pipeline through Syria. And I think that is probably why all these things are happening. This whole, hybrid conflict that we've been going through here, all the things that are kind of going on around the globe, I believe are all sort of interrelated to one another. But when any time that there's some type of conflict in the Middle East, I'm always concerned on how it's going to affect basically fuel prices, because fuel prices are everything that everything affects fuel prices, because everything's delivered by boat or truck, more or less, in your local stores. And whenever there is something that is out of the ordinary going on over there, and this is a pretty big thing that is going on, there's always a chance to disrupt that fuel, disrupt the markets, see a spike in prices, or even availability issues. Anybody that lived through 2020 knows that availability issues are now a thing that is always in the back of people's minds. The death of this executive, I believe that you're going to see a lot more security around more or less corporate America. And anything that you would consider, I think that this was really a wake-up call for corporate America in general. I believe that you're going to see a lot of changes in how corporate America functions after this. I think this is something that we're going to see down the road. And the other thing that we discussed even in that live stream the other night was AI. And I think in the next 3 to 4 years, you are going to see big changes in pretty much everything, how we conduct our lives, whether it's what you would call retail or distribution of services, medical. I think all of this stuff is going to change, and that's going to be because of technology. I think you're going to see a lot of jobs eliminated in the next probably 4 years. And I don't think there's anything that really can be done about it. That is going to be the back and forth on that. And then, of course, the downside of that is economic problems. Whenever a new technology is introduced into the workplace, it eliminates people. That's basically what it does. And what most of the stuff is designed to do is to eliminate workers, because workers continue to cost money down the road. And I think you're going to see a large shift in employment with people. I'm sort of over the hill now, but the younger generation coming up is going to have to adjust for that one way or another. And getting off of the kind of the negative here, the positive of it, my neighbor brought me over some produce and stuff yesterday that he came around, and that's something that we do back and forth here in the neighborhood. Like if I see a deal on 10-pound bags of rice and I buy a couple of them, I give one to them. They give me stuff when they find deals on stuff, or if they have surplus in their garden, they give me stuff. I give them stuff. different times when I've shot deer and whatnot, I've taken them venison over or sausage or whatever. That neighborly interaction, that give and take, that back and forth, those are things that builds friendships, and it builds interdependency among neighbors, so they rely on each other. And you hear a lot of talk in the preparedness community about building communities. Things like that is what builds communities. That builds to say, hey, you know what, that guy over there, he's pretty good. He brought me this or that. I'm going to reciprocate in that. You always got people that will take, and they won't reciprocate. But as a general rule, my experience is if you give, you will receive back in one way, shape, or form. Might not be the exact same way, but it might be in a different way that you didn't expect. And these are sort of the things that build communities. So I always try to do that with my neighbors. I try to pass along surplus that I have here to them, help them out, and then, they do it vice versa. And this is sort of the pillar of rural America. Rural America was always like this. My grandparents did it, and my parents did it. And another thing is, adding value to stuff and finding out how to, finding different ways to make a little money here and there. My mom and dad were actually really good at little sideline things. Mom baked bread and she gave it to the farmers, and then the farmers would bring, stuff over for us when we were kids. And my dad mowed lawns. Even though he was severely disabled, he would mow lawns for cash on the side. He collected night crawlers, and he sold night crawlers. And my mom would take on sewing projects and sewing jobs and mend things, and all of this generated a little bit of income in really bad economic times as they were back then. We complain about the economic times now, but the economic times when I was a kid growing up were worse than what they are now. So even though it's bad now, it's still not as bad as what it was when I was a kid growing up. And another thing that I want to mention about food and food preservation in general, never overlook stuff that doesn't require any type of preservation methods, whether it's electricity, refrigeration, stuff that you basically can go out and get and bring it back and use it, that doesn't require any energy. These are the kind of things that will sustain people when there's literally nothing. And this comes from a Youper that I knew back in the day. And if you don't know what a Youper is, they are a native of Michigan's Upper Peninsula. That's what we call them here in Michigan, is Youpers. I am a troll because I live below the bridge. And trolls are never quite Youpers. They can try to be Youpers, but they're never quite, the mindset isn't quite there as far as being a die-in-the-wool Youper. But I was talking to this guy once, and we were talking about fishing, and I, of course, was up there catching fish. We were vacuum sealing them in packages. We were freezing them, and we were bringing them back, so we had fish throughout the winter, here where we are. And he just shook his head, and he says, what are you doing with all them fish? And I said, well, I'm going to freeze them. And he pointed out at the lake, and he said, that's my freezer out there. And I said, what do you mean that's your freezer out there? He says, I don't freeze fish. He says, if I want fish, I go out there, I catch a fish, and I bring them in, and I use them. And that was a real epiphany. I was young at the time. That was a real epiphany for me. I'm like, to have that mindset, I don't have to go out and gather stuff and collect it and hoard it and keep it in my, my freezer or my pantry, whatever, when I had the resource of the lake to just go out whenever I wanted to catch a few fish for dinner. Those fish don't require any preservation. They take care of themselves until you pull them out of the water and, you know, prepare them. So I always thought that that was a real decent bit of wisdom that I wanted to pass on to you guys here today. But anyway, this is Modern Refugee. Appreciate all my subscribers out there. Hope you guys always get something out of my videos. If you enjoyed me doing that live stream, like me to see doing something like that again in the future, go ahead and put that down in the comments, and I'll see what I can do to maybe do that every once in a while. But anyway, I appreciate all you guys out there. You guys take care.